Welcome to the Great American Rail Trail Route Reveal. You're going to experience many of the aspects of what makes the strategy to complete the Great American Rail Trail powerful and what makes this trail so very special.
This is an incredible moment in trail history, the moment we unveil the route of the Great American Rail Trail.
The Great American Rail Trail is something like we've never before had in our country. A multi-use trail completely separated from vehicle traffic that spans the nation from Washington to Washington. Imagine how epic the journey across the country will be when you take it all in from the trail.
The Midwest is, and always has been, the gateway to the West. We will connect Washington to Washington. We will reconnect our communities in a way that has been missing for far too long.
The economic analysis of Iowa's trail and active transportation economy is $1 billion for Iowa right now every year.
When we were starting out, we knew it would be pretty difficult to get through the Mountain West. And we visited out here, had a lot of meetings with people, had a lot of conversations, drove around, and the excitement was palpable. The trail across Montana is a reality, it's an inevitability, and it's a necessity.
We took it east to west today as we followed the course of the railroad in unveiling the details of the Great American Rail Trail. We're celebrating Washington State's role as the western terminus.
It's going to take all of us together to complete the Great American Rail Trail. This is not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen without a whole heck of a lot of support from a lot of people. We need 1 million people to stand up with Rails to Trails Conservancy and say they want the Great American Rail Trail too. So please go to greatamericanrailtrail.org right now, take the pledge, let folks know how much this trail means to you.
Wow, it is so exciting to be here 1 year after that epic launch in May of 2019. It feels like it was just yesterday, but so much has happened in that short amount of time. I'm really lucky today to be gathered with so many partners from across the country and across the Great American Rail Trail route to celebrate this moment and to celebrate the launch that happened a year ago and all that has happened since then. So just real quick, I want to say hello to Liz from RTC, Don from the Rails to Trails of Wayne County, Mitch from Indiana, Jenny with Adventure Cycling, Sean of Warrior Expeditions, Chelsea with Idaho State Parks, Andy who's going to talk about the Old Yellowstone Trail in Montana, Chris with the Cowboy Trail West, and Jeff with the Olympic Discovery Trail in Washington. There has been so much happening along this route, from funding, from trail development updates, from new mileage added to a whole new section of the trail that was added on in the West at the end of, or in the middle of last year. So I'm going to turn it over to Liz here, and she is going to tell us a little bit about what has happened since we introduced this trail and all of the support and enthusiasm from the outdoor movement since then.
Thanks, Brandy. Hi, everyone. I'm Liz Torstensson with Rails to Trails Conservancy. I'm so grateful that you're here joining us today, and I'm going to give you a few really important stats of the incredible progress that's been made over the last year. So first up, since the route was revealed 1 year ago, more than $14.5 million in funding has been secured for planning, design, and construction of several of the trail segments that make up the Great American Rail Trail. Further, nearly 40 miles have been completed. So an additional 40 miles are available for use right now. And by the end of 2020, 8 of the 12 Great American Rail Trail states will have completed new mileage of trail. And over 100 miles of trail are in the pipeline to be completed in the next few years, representing about 6% of the gap miles of the route. And over 10,000 of you have pledged your support for the Great American Rail Trail, telling us that you really support this movement. You want to be able to use this trail. You want your families and your future generations of your families to be able to use this trail. And we just couldn't be more grateful for your support and for the entire trails movement and the over 130 trails that make up the Great American Rail.
Thank you so much, Liz. It is so exciting to see how much progress has been made. The dollars pledged, the dollars invested, the new trail mileage that has opened. We've got some folks here today who are representing first in-state trail miles. You know, when we sat here and thought about how do we track the progress of a trail this big and this substantial, one of the things was as trail mileage was added to each state, and we'll have 8 of 12 of those over the course of the next year, and that's really super exciting. And a few of those are going to start us off in this conversation here. So Don, Rails to Trails of Wayne County had the exciting opportunity to celebrate the first Great American Rail Trail miles in Ohio. I think you're there right now on the Heartland Trail segment that opened last summer. Tell us a little bit about what that meant for Wayne County.
Well, thank you, Brandy. Welcome from tropical Marshallville, Ohio. It's a little cold out here, but no, we are honored and excited to be part of the Great American Rail Trail. Being a part of this rail trail really put Wayne County on the map of trail use. So to give you a little update of where our trail is, we're between Marshallville and Orrville, Ohio, which is the home of Smucker's. I think everybody knows Smucker's Jams and Jellies. We put in 2.4 miles of trail last year, and you're seeing some videos of the trail before and after, I think. But we're trying to connect into Orrville right now. Our Close the Gap campaign is going really well. We have about a mile section from the Orrville Industrial Park where this trail currently ends into Orrville. And then we're going to connect to the Ohio to Erie Canal Towpath Trail in Clinton, which is about 5 miles to the northwest of here. And we're really trying to work on that, about a 5-mile section. Once we're to that section, we want to connect south, and really this Heartland Trail is part of a three-part trail system. Not only the Heartland Trail here in Wayne County, Ohio, but also the Ohio to Erie Trail, which is the trail from Cincinnati, Columbus to Cleveland. And it's a 326-mile trail, and we're on that route. And of course, also the Great American Rail Trail. So we're a three-part system. We're really trying to connect. Connectivity is our game here in Wayne County. It's great to be, we're honored. People are using this trail like crazy. Now, you don't see too many people today, but another trail we built here in Wayne County, we usually get the asphalt down, people are using them. And use it long, it's big. Fully excited to be part of it. Our motto here in Wayne County is patience, persistence, progress. Anybody who knows trail building to that. Have patience. You know, trails aren't built in a year; they're built in decades. You have to have persistence and progress, and we have progress right here. So we're really great to be part of this great experience, and you know, we're going to continue to work here in Wayne County, Ohio.
Thank you so much, Don. And I love that mantra, the 3 Ps, patience, persistence, and progress. Isn't that something to keep us all going every day? That's fantastic. And you're right, it's a labor of love. And you know, building trail is something that takes a long time. And that's what I think makes all the progress that has happened on the Great American this past year so exciting, because a lot has happened in a short amount of time. And so Ohio was a state that has already celebrated first trail segment. And Indiana, in fact, is about to open up 2 segments that are part of the Great American Rail Trail. So that is super exciting. And we have Mitch with us. And Mitch, you've had some really, really great progress, not just the trail mileage, but also a trail caucus that has formed that is an exciting model for how we build the political support to get this work done, because we know it takes public will, it takes political will to move a trail like this forward. So you are with us from Indiana today. Tell us about the Pennsy Greenway and the Veteran Memorial Trail and what those new segments represent.
Good morning, good afternoon, depends on where you're at. I'm really pleased to be here, Brandy, and really honored to be with all these great people from coast to coast that are building this tremendous network throughout our country and this quality of life amenity for all communities. So my role here, and I wear different hats. I keep my head nice and smooth so I can keep putting the hats on. And the one that I'm working with you today on, I am the president of the Greenways Foundation here in Indiana. As you mentioned earlier, we are working with state legislators on a trail caucus and establishing that with the help of the RTC, which has been very beneficial in getting this off the ground for our state. And as for this region, I actually work up here at the Northwest Indiana Metropolitan Planning Organization, and no time to talk about what that means, but it's regional government, and I've been dealing with trail development for the last 16 years up here. And our location is really right at the tip of Lake Michigan in Indiana. Our region is a 3-county region that in the 1800s had over 1,000 miles of railroad. Everything was crossing from the east into Chicago. Lake Michigan, being as long and as narrow as it was, pushed all the transportation corridors right here, and a lot of them abandoned. And we've been having a lot of advantage in kind of returning those into use as trails. In fact, we have now over 170 miles of trails in Northwest Indiana. And as you mentioned, Brandy, 2 of them are opening up this year along the Great American. And I am very proud to talk about both of them. First, what you see here is the first mile of what's called the Veterans Memorial Trail in the town of Hebron. Hebron is just outside of Lake County being the most populous county up here in the region. It's the one adjacent to Chicago. And this is really exciting. We've been trying to get this off the ground for the last 20-some years because there's a lot of landowners that have been having one dibs or another on it. And so we finally were able to kind of break through that red tape and that bureaucracy and get this first mile done. Really a lot of credit to the officials in the town of Hebron for doing it. As you can see, it has been stoned. And as I speak, the asphalt machines are there today laying the pavement down. I would have been out there. I'm not as brave as the Ohio representative. We have gale force winds out here in the region today. It's kind of driven me back inside. But they are out there with the asphalt machine, and we hope to get this first mile of trail done. The Veterans Trail is going to go from Hebron to Crown Point. Crown Point is the county seat of Lake County, Indiana. It's also where John Dillinger escaped from prison, just so you know. But that is a 9-mile trail. It'll actually be half equine as well when it is all completed. And the special part of the Veterans Trail is that there's going to be a series of memorials to our veterans, those who have served honorably in our service. What you see in that flagpole is the future site of our Northwest Indiana Middle East Memorial. The trail is going to go right past the Korean Memorial. That's about 5 miles northwest of this site, and then into Crown Point, where we have a site dedicated for World War I, II, and Holocaust people as well, and veterans and those who served in those conflicts. So a very exciting project overall, incredible amount of work we have done over the years to get this off the ground. And again, having the Great American be part of the network was just an abundance of icing on the cake. Moving on now to another exciting connection, just up from the Veterans Trail is the Pennsy Greenway. The Pennsy is a trail that I am very proud of because it is a project that I have been working on from the start. And it goes from Crown Point, again, mentioning Crown Point, all the way into Lansing, Illinois. And eventually the Great American follows this all the way through the state of Illinois into Iowa. But we have a 3-mile gap that is scheduled to be completed, in fact, within the month, right along with the Veterans Trail. It's a very important gap. It connects the communities of Cherville and Munster. And when you have the background behind me, this is the town hall of Cherville, Indiana. The trail itself is going to go right alongside the town hall. And it makes a very important connection because lots of people are accessing the trail. This is the heaviest populated area of Lake County, Indiana. We have a population of about 500,000 here, and this goes right through the heart of it. And people are already getting on there now. It's officially closed only because we're trying to still get some work done along a railroad, but that should be completed within the next month or two, and this will be open for business and complete a 15-mile contiguous segment of the Pennsy all the way from Cherville into Illinois. And I will say this lastly, we did get some money just last year to finish it from Cherville to Crown Point and to make the entire link contiguous from that city all the way into Illinois. So very exciting progress being done here. And again, having the Great American as part of the family of trails we have here in the region has just been really a boon to our progress.
That's so good to hear. And I love hearing news about new money. And we actually got, right before we started this broadcast, I got an email that said, we just learned that one of the projects in Montana that had applied for a recreational trails program money just got notification that they got it. So the good news just keeps
Wonderful.
rolling in, whether it's something we knew a week ago and we could plan for the broadcast or something we found out just moments before we started. So, and there's a lot of those rec trail program applications and things that are still awaiting award, and so we expect more good news, you know, as 2020 carries forward in all of the states. So that's really exciting. When we announced this thing a year ago, one of the #1 questions we got was, when will it be done? Of course. How much is it going to cost? Of course. And then, when can I do it? I want to do it right now. I don't care if it's not done. I want to do it right now. And it just really speaks to the desire that people have to really take in the country on their bike, or to take in really important places across our country by foot. And so we're so excited to have Ginny Sullivan with us here today from Adventure Cycling Association. They have had thousands of people go across the country on their Trans-America route over decades. And it speaks to, you know, just the determination of people to be able to bike from coast to coast. So Ginny, when you think about the connections that biking creates between people and places and community, what do you think the Great American inspires in today's touring cyclists and then the next generation? Oh, unmute.
There I am. Hey, great question. Thanks, Brandy. Well, as you know, adventure cycling represents people that want to travel by bicycle, and it's our mission to inspire and empower and connect people to bike travel. So the Great American Rail Trail just inspires so many of our members. We have 52,000 members from all over the world, and it is so inspirational to our members to be able to think that they can ride on a separated path. They don't have to necessarily worry about navigation. They can relax and enjoy their trip across the country. They don't have to deal with as much traffic and all of those things. And it's really a game changer for our community. And I think one of the things that's so exciting for our members is just connecting with all those small rural places that are going to be on the trail when it's completed, and are already on all those multitudes of trails that are completed and welcoming cyclists today. And I just want to commend all the state trail administrators, the trail advocates, and all the volunteers that work so tirelessly to get trails built in their communities and between communities, which is really what's important. And what we aspire to is to create a network of bike travel routes. And so the Great American Rail Trail is just a really great opportunity for our community to get to enjoy just this amazing amenity. And I just wanted to say, you know, it's really tough right now with the coronavirus pandemic. We're all suffering, you know, not being able to get out and do these trips right now. And we're not recommending anyone travel by bike, especially these small rural communities just can't deal with people coming into their community right now. But we are seeing so many people in our communities rediscover their bicycle. And we know the next step for them, if they do aspire to travel by bike, will be to be on a facility like the Great American Rail Trail. And so it gives us just a gateway to get people to travel by bicycle. And we're so grateful to be a partner with Rails to Trails Conservancy and all the many different people out there that are helping see this trail happen. We're just so grateful to be a partner. So thank you, Brandy, for everything. And let's keep working hard. We're here to support it in whatever way we can.
Well, and we're grateful for you, Ginny, and we're grateful for all of those through cyclists who are eager and chomping at the bit to do this thing. And even with the COVID-19 situation that's happening, we're getting requests, you know, what do you know? And are places open? And I think the hardest part is that there are places open in some parts of the country and not in other parts of the country. And you're right, that right now, you know, we're really urging people to use the trails that are close to their home. But we are seeing, just like what you're saying about your communities, we're seeing surges in trail use all over the country, doubling, 200% increase increases in trail use on average just everywhere. And all different types of trail users, walkers, runners, families, people who didn't know they had a trail in their backyard who were really bored looking for a place to get outside and be active, and they're finding and discovering those places, and they're learning about the connections that exist all over the country and the 37,000 miles of trail that exist. And that's really exciting, I think, for all of us for when this is over and we're able to get back out and connect with folks. And through all of this, I think part of why trails have been so important is the therapeutic nature of being outside. And last year when we launched this idea and this vision into the world, we heard from Sean with Warrior Expeditions, and we were so glad to learn of you and what you do and your mission. Warrior Expeditions is a nonprofit outdoor therapy program that helps veterans transition from wartime experiences through long distance expeditions. And Sean and his team asked if they could post the Great American Rail Trail as one of the bike routes. And we said, oh my gosh, of course. We're so glad to be of service in that way and to really help provide those connections in that way. So Sean, when you heard about the Great American Rail Trail, what sparked your interest? And what do you think a trail like this, why do you think it's important to the veterans that you serve?
So I remember the moment vividly when we heard about this trail. Since 2016, we've had our Warrior Bike program, which is a cross-country bicycle ride. And since 2016, our biggest concern has been traffic, not only for a safety issue, but also how it impacts the therapeutic value of the experience for our veterans. And so last summer when I returned home from kicking off our Warrior Bike program, I was on the computer checking my email, and the Great American Rail Trail popped up on my social media feed. And I immediately stopped what I was doing, called my staff up, and we immediately pivoted to planning our Warrior Bike program on the Great American Rail Trail. And so the reason it's so important for the veteran community to have a trail like this goes back, to the age before modern transportation. Historically, military units, after fighting a campaign abroad, would travel home, and that travel would take months at a time. But in today's age of modern transportation, you can be on the battlefield and return home within a matter of a day or so. And so it's that lack of transitioning back into your civilian life, which we believe is one of the main causes of issues like post-traumatic stress and those type of things that our veterans are suffering with since 9/11. And so, what Warrior Expeditions has done is we've replicated that experience of doing a long distance travel out in nature with the camaraderie of your fellow veterans to help ease that transition process back into society.
It's such a neat program, and if you haven't checked it out, people should, warriorexpeditions.org, and they've got great post-trek data as well about the outcomes for folks. So it's just a really great program. So thank you, Sean, for what you do. Thank you so much. It's really important, and I think in this moment too, the nation has never lived with chronic and traumatic stress the way that we're all living with right now. And I think that connection and what people like you and your organization and others have done to understand the connection between nature and traumatic stress challenges and how you cope, I think that's going to be really important in the months and the years ahead. So thank you. So we're going to move from the benefits that are health-oriented and recreation-oriented into really the economic benefits of what's happening out there on the Great American Rail Trail and the trails all across our country. We have Chelsea from Idaho State Parks with us. And, when we were talking about this in advance, we were talking about, what does a trail like this mean to Idaho? And so, when we think about the Trail of the Coeur d'Alene and the connection that the Great American makes through the state of Idaho, how has that amplified the rural economic benefits of what trails are delivering for your state?
So we have done a variety of economic impact studies over the years. They've all had varying results, but all very positive. So estimating between just visitor spending and the economic benefits of goods production and the labor income, it's well over $1 million just for that small area in northern Idaho that it crosses. And that's every year, so that's huge. So the trail is 73 miles and it goes across the tip of northern Idaho. It edges on both Washington and the Montana border. So it passes through some pretty small towns. One such town is Wallace, Idaho. At last census, it had just under 800 people. So it's a pretty small area. But we spoke with the executive director of economic benefit in that Silver Valley area. And she said that just between partnering with the Great American Rail Trail and having the Trail Core Lanes go through their town, it has brought new businesses, they've opened new bike shops, they've increased their marketing capacity substantially. The Chamber of Commerce has seen great benefit with tourism and just their overall capacity to reach people and get tourism in the area.
That is so exciting and heartening to hear. And I know that a lot of the trail-oriented businesses that are along the route, you know, there's so much tourism that is involved here, and everyone waiting for COVID-19 to be behind us so that we can get back to it. But it is great to know, and I think a lot of folks speculating about, you know, what are the economies that will open back up first, and those local tourism channels really being powerful, and trails being a really important part of that. And really at the same time, trail use among our community being an important part of how we're dealing with COVID-19 and how we'll recover. And we have with us Andy Fisher from Montana. And recently, that's another first, I believe it's first, might not be first, might be second in state trail in Montana with the Old Yellowstone. And what I heard was that there wasn't a whole lot of fanfare because it opened in kind of still a cold period of time, but there has been incredible trail use already. And so Andy, will you tell us a little bit of what you think is going on and why you think that trail is so important to the community?
Sure. This is a new trail opportunity outside of Deer Lodge, Montana. I'm Andy Fisher. I'm on the Powell County Parks Board, and we worked with the State of Montana Natural Resource Damage Program to acquire roughly 7 miles of the Old Milwaukee railbed that we have named the Old Yellowstone Trail. It follows both the Old Milwaukee Rail. It follows both the Old Milwaukee Rail as well as a historic auto route that ran through the valley called the Old Yellowstone Trail. And we just opened the first phase of this trail this spring, and it's been getting incredible usage from the local community. We've even had folks coming from out of town to check out this trail. We don't have many other sort of cycling opportunities that are off of roads and safe opportunities like this. So it's been exciting to see. We're looking as the weather gets nicer here to see some additional usage and trying to get the word out that the trail's open. We've had a few improvements along the way that we have been finalizing even this week. We had our county road crew is doing a little bit more surfacing work. It's a hard-packed dirt trail using much of the existing surface of the rail bed. That's great for bicycles and running. And some of the unique things on this trail that I wanted to highlight is it also has access to the Clark Fork River for fishing at the bridge crossings as well as at the parking areas. So that's pretty unique about this trail. It's not just for cyclists, it's for fishermen, for hikers, a lot of different uses. And we're also working towards the second phase of this trail that will eventually connect it another 3.5 miles to Deer Lodge, Montana. So it'll eventually be over a 10-mile trail connecting from Deer Lodge, Montana to Garrison, Montana. And in case you're wondering where those towns are located, some of the bigger cities nearby are Butte, Helena, and Missoula. So it's a fantastic trail opportunity. I've been using it personally and I've seen a lot of other families out there. So we're excited to share this and continue our progress.
Well, it looks great, and the photos you shared, you know, I want to get out there. I'm itching to visit all of my friends along the route. I'm ready to do it. So like the Old Yellowstone Trail, there's a lot of new segments that have popped up in this past year along the trail, and there's gaps that need to be filled. But the foundation for this trail was really the iconic trails that are the backbone across the whole country. And one of those trails is the Cowboy Trail in Nebraska. It's one of the oldest and one of the longest in the country. But I think as was said earlier about the persistence and the patience to get this work done, it has been a labor of love. And we have Chris Ferguson with us. And I wanted Chris to ask you just how the Great American Rail Trail has delivered momentum for the Cowboy Trail at this point.
Hi, Brandy. My name, like she said, is Chris Ferguson. I'm with Cowboy Trail West. I'm super excited to be part of this elite group today. So thank you. Just a little bit of history. The Cowboy Trail was, like she said, started in Nebraska years and years ago, and it was completed to the center part of the state. And it just really wasn't coming west. And in 2011, I was hit by a car, which really sparked some interest in developing trail, because prior to that, there was no options for those of us in Western Nebraska. So our group was founded by myself and a group of like-minded trail supporters in 2011. Our efforts, we traveled, we met with Nebraska Game and Parks, we met with our then state legislator, Al Davis. We met with our NRDs trying to determine how can we make the Cowboy Trail grow in Nebraska. And through this partnership, we were able to get 2 phases of trail and some RTP money, and we finished the trail between Gord, Nebraska and Rushville. And then in 2018, we were contacted by the Rails to Trails Conservancy, whom we had been visiting with all along, but they talked about the Great American Rail Trail, and we were super excited and wanted to know how they could help. But at that time, we didn't really have a plan. We didn't have the money. And Nebraska Game and Parks approached us and a group in Shatter, Nebraska, which was farther east, and said, if you can raise a match for an RTP grant, we can make that happen, which was so exciting. And right before Christmas in 2018, Jimmy O'Connor with RTC called and said, we have great news. We have a donor that is willing to add to your matching funds of $35,000. And that was going to tip us over the top of what we needed to complete 3 more phases of our Cowboy Trail. And that was the best Christmas present I think I've ever had. So it was amazing. And so we had all those funds in place, and we had been talking with Nebraska Game and Parks, who was writing the RTP grant for us. And then we got hit with a bomb cyclone blizzard, and then we got hit with massive flooding, and now we have the coronavirus. So we've had a few delays, but we were just talking to Nebraska Game and Parks a week ago, and their plan, we are still on the list, the grants are still in place, and we are hoping that we will start to see some action by midsummer to complete phase 3, which would allow us to deck the rest of the bridges between Rushville, Nebraska and Shatter, Nebraska. And because the trail, when they removed the ballast, they weren't excessive in taking off ballast, they packed it. And if we can get those bridges decked for the safety of our trail users, we can use the trail almost all the way to Shatter, and that would give us a 50-mile stretch of Cowboy Trail that would be usable. So we are really excited. We're really thankful to the Rails to Trails Conservancy for helping push us over the edge of what we needed for those matching grants, and we look forward to being able to use another large section of the Cowboy Trail. Thank you.
Thank you, and we do too. And we were so happy to be able to do that. And I think when we look at what the Great American Rail Trail can do for trail development across the country, the enthusiasm of a big vision sometimes is what it takes to push a long-standing project to the next level. And so this is really exciting to hear about the progress in Nebraska. We have one last story, and it's from Washington. We tend to end with Washington as our western terminus, but we saved Jeff for last because it's also the newest section of the Great American Rail Trail to be added to the map. Last summer, we gathered stakeholders from across the state to figure out how do we get from Seattle to the Sound, and Jeff was a big part of that. So Jeff, tell us about the importance of this connection and the progress that's being made. And Jeff, we got you muted.
Like the others, we're thrilled to be woven into this tapestry of the trail across the country. Oh, I've got my brochure on backwards there. But what's exciting is that about 100 miles of the 130-mile eventual Olympic Discovery Trail will be the westernmost piece of the Great American Rail Trail. And it will get you all the way out to the Pacific coast. Our trail work started in the early 1990s. There are about 80 miles of an eventual 130 miles done. Pieces are being added each year. We just, in fact, had some pavement laid and finished up last week. This year, we're particularly excited that there will be a completion of the reopening of 2 railroad tunnels and the corresponding railroad bed across the north side of Lake Crescent within Olympic National Park. That area called the Spruce Railroad Trail is slated to reopen in the fall. We are well on our way to having continuity all the way from Discovery Bay in the eastern part of the Olympic Peninsula, where the Great American Rail Trail will join the Olympic Discovery Trail. And then on the rest of the way westward, those approximately 110 miles out to the coast. Being able to associate ourselves with RTC's Great American Rail Trail has already borne fruit in terms of renewed and added commitments to helping get different pieces of trail built. The jurisdictions, including several Native American tribes, are all enthusiastically on board. And in fact, that westernmost piece, the approximately 10 miles that will extend from Forks, Washington, out there in Twilight Land, out to the Pacific coast itself, is slated for construction in 23 and 24. So we will truly have the western coastal completion of the Great American Rail Trail in the not too distant future. So we're very grateful to be a part of this nationwide effort and looking forward to continuing to report progress each and every year for years to come.
And so are we. We are so grateful for all of you who are with us today and the more than 145 host trails that comprise this route. That is decades. I think, Ginny, you said it well. There are state trail administrators, there are volunteers, there are trail organizations that have been working on these segments for decades. And without all of that hard work, none of what we're envisioning now today would even be possible. So we're so grateful for the partnership and the collaboration with all of those folks along the route. It really has made all the difference.
We can go far united. United we hike and bike.
United we ride and roll.
United we walk and run.
United we trek and explore. We can go far united. United
we trail.